G'day folks, welcome back to the channel. You might be wondering why we're not getting into part 2 of the Akai GX-R88 this week. Well, it's because I found a potentiometerly, that's the word I'm looking for, a potentially game-breaking issue with this transport that we need to talk about, and I need to formulate a plan on how to deal with. I will show you what's going on. This went from being an easy job to being a real hard job real quick. I found a problem with the with one of the two direct drive capstan motors in this thing. There's nothing up front here that's really a cause for concern. The pinch rollers are kind of cracked and kind of hard and glazed, but that's nothing new. Heads seem to be good. No, the problem is under here. Let's see if you can spot it real quick before I point it out. You see the problem? You see the problem now? Yes. This flywheel has become detached from the magnet assembly. I don't know how it happened or when it happened. This could have been during shipping, or it could have been any time in the last, I don't know, 7 days, because I seem to recall this thing actually running. So I don't know what happened, but I do know that this plate right down here is detached from this, and I need to reattach that. So with many thanks to Peter at ASB Custom, I've got some idea as to how I'm going to fix this, but it's going to take me some time to really get my ducks in a row on this. I want to go into the city and I want to get some new epoxy that might be better for this than the JB Weld, but we'll see what I can find. So before we get to the object of today's video, the Denon DR-F3 showed up, and I just had to show you guys what it looked like. Take a look at this. Have you ever seen a tape deck this beautiful before? This is gorgeous. Whoever owned this last kept it in impeccable shape. I don't think I've got a deck, actually, that's any better looking than this. Well, unless you count the top panel here. There's some condition issues up here, but the front of it, beautiful. And the inside of the tape door here, just as beautiful. I don't think this got a lot of use, guys. I don't know about you. You tell me if you think it got a lot of use or not. $74 this one cost me from Japan. Couldn't believe I got it that cheap, but I did, so I thought, well, let's go a little bit nuts here and get a bunch of other stuff shipped with it. So this is what I got shipped with it. We've got another issue of Radio Technology here. You can see why I bought it right here. Has my childhood dream deck on the front. Had to have it because my childhood dream deck is just right over there. Still working great. I should get into that and redo the audio chain capacitors, but I'm lazy. Haven't done it yet. Probably wouldn't make much difference for that deck anyway. But the other things I got shipped were 4 of these Maxell metal UD tapes. These are going to be doing my recording tests from now on. I got 2 brand new ones, so I could use one for a prop. Maybe I'll use the other one for recording. Maybe I won't. I got 2 used metal UDs here. Not exactly sure how much I paid for these anymore, but one of these looks like it's never been used, and the other one had a dead spider in it. Don't ask me how that happened, but he's gone now. Poor little guy didn't make the trip. But I got those, and also got 2 authentic sets of Nintendo playing cards. How many of you guys knew that Nintendo used to be a playing card company before they got into electronic games and such? Well, I did, and now I've got a couple sets of these. They are excellent quality. Haven't looked at them both yet, but I will. And finally, we've got 10 chrome Axia cassettes here. These are between 70 and 80 minutes. Couldn't believe I found that many chrome tapes for cheap, but I did, and now I got them. So looking forward to recording on those, but it is time to get into the subject at hand. Okay, so today's video is going to be about this guy right here, the Onkyo MD-105AX Minidisc deck. The story behind these two decks was I decided to see how cheap or expensive it would be to get two of these things to ship out from Japan. And then the idea was that they would all get here before December started, and I'd have one in perfect working order that I could use over the holidays. And then I'd have one I could fix up on the channel that would be a nice de-stressor after all the tape decks I was working on at the time. But here it is, 117 or 118 days later, and they finally got here thanks to the Canada Post strike. So didn't get to de-stress with these in December, so why not do it today? Better late than never, as they say. So the Denon is the one that was supposed to be in fully working order, and it is in full working order. It's even got the remote with it. This was included in the auction. The remote is broken. It needs these two latches fixed, so that's not really worth putting on camera. So the Denon probably will not be on camera for a while, in other words, because everything works. But just before we get started on the Onkyo, we'll show you the Denon real quick first. It is the nicer of the two. Everything, like I said, seems to work on this, including the Eject, which is what we're fixing on the Onkyo. But this one's a little bit more fully featured than the Onkyo is. It's got two line outs. It's got digital or optical out and in, two digital inputs, in fact. System connectors for the rest of the Denon system that it would have gone with back in the day, but it works fine independently. I'll plug it in real quick so you can see the display on it. Yes, I'm going right into the 120 volts with both of these. Kind of hard to see the display, but it's very nice. It works. I'll just show you here that it does in fact work. It's recognizing the disc. Does play just fine. Goes to whatever track you want to bring it to. Like I said, Eject works fine. But yeah, this is the one that was supposed to be working, and it is working. Okay, so the Onkyo. I've got it hooked up to audio. We'll do a little bit of a test on it first before we get in there. Once again, we are right into the 120 volt main supply. I don't really have too much concern about this, but if you're at all worried about doing this kind of thing, like plugging a 100 volt component in from Japan, I would say, if in doubt, just don't even try it. Use a step-down transformer. Some of these will handle the 120 volts just fine, others don't. Like, the older it gets, the more trouble you're likely to have with that kind of thing. But I'm a repair technician, so I'm okay with the risk. So, it occurs to me I should tell you how much I paid for these things before we even get started on this. And the answer to that is, well, I kind of had to look up the auction results again because it's been so long, but I paid $90 for both of them. I think this was the cheaper of the two because it's the one that's not working properly. I'm into these decks for less than $200 shipped, so not a lot of money being lost there. And the remote I had to get separately because this one didn't have the remote, but the remote was only about $10 or so. Anyway, we'll see what works on this before we get inside it. I'll fire it up with the remote here. Remote does work. Display is quite dim. Let me shut off some lights here so you can see that. A little better. We do need to see the display for testing, don't we? So I'll put my test disc in. Loads it just fine. TOC reading. And it's recognized the disc, so this is probably going to work. I already kind of knew that because I tested them off camera, because I didn't remember which one worked and didn't work. But as you can hear, no problems so far. Nothing wrong with playback. The problem comes when you try to eject anything out of this one, because... Come on, do it. Do the thing. Yeah, there's the problem right there. It can't do it. So we are going to have to get inside this thing in order to even get my Minidisc back. So as I am taking the screws out of this thing, how about a little update on the Yamaha KX-1000, shall we? I know you guys don't like it, at least some of you don't like it. That's fine. It's my deck, you don't have to like it. Somebody gave me some advice in the last video on it that I could try possibly changing the playback capacitors directly after the playback head on that thing to possibly get some more high-end back. And I'm happy to report that this advice was very helpful. In fact, that deck now has all of its high-end back. Well, almost all of it. It is flat from 16 hertz, or not 16 hertz, 20 hertz to 16 kilohertz, which is basically where my hearing stops these days. So that deck now can play back almost as well as it records, and it records brilliantly. In fact, if you held a gun to my head and told me to find a spot in the top 5 for it, I'd put it at number 4. It's above the 666ES. It is that good. So I'm kind of thinking about maybe one of these days grabbing the BX-150 or something like that and actually showing you just how good that deck actually sounds in recording, but I'm not sure on that for sure. Okay, let's see if we can get it to eject now. Could be tricky. I don't know exactly how this transport works yet. So, what moves and what doesn't move? I'm going to use the remote because that front panel button is a little flaky. Oh, almost got it. There we go. We got her back. So, unplug, and we will start tearing into this to see if we can fix it, I guess. I gotta figure out what needs to come off and apart. So we've got a ground to disconnect there. Might as well do that now. I do not think we're going to be changing any capacitors in this deck. I will test them, but everything currently works, so why fix it? Okay, that's disconnected. Anything else we got to disconnect? I don't know. Can the transport come out from this angle, or do we have to get into further? I guess we'll find out, won't we? So anyway, I will be in the city next week, and we'll see what we can find for other types of epoxy that might work better on that Akai transport. And then I think the plan is on that deck to take an extremely reactive approach to it, because I don't know if the direct drive motor on that side has taken any damage. It could be that we've got coil windings that are no good on that deck, so The plan is to just service it in place. I will rubber renew the pinch rollers. I'm not even taking them out of the deck. Change the idler, of course. And I'll just get it working just to see if it works. And we'll just take things from there. Okay, is this loose now? It would seem to be. Can I actually get it out, though? That's the question. There's not really a lot of room in here to maneuver, because the power transformer is here as well. But maybe if I take this out, then I can do it without having to remove the front panel or anything. So that's what I'm going to try next. Not sure if this is the ideal way to approach this or not, but it's the way I'm going to do it. We've got one of those push-down connectors over on this side here, so easy enough to deal with. And now we should be able to get this out. Yes, sir. Got a couple more connectors to deal with, though. A ribbon cable. I will disconnect it from over here, I think. And then we've got this other cable. I don't know if it's a belt that's slipping or not, but we'll find out for sure in a moment or five. Okay. So I'm going to go get my anti-static mat and other static stuff, and we'll get started on this. Okay, so the anti-static precautions have been taken or whatever. Just trying to give you a good angle on this here. It's important to do anti-static precautions when you've got an environment like I do today, which is we're dead in the middle of winter and the air in the house is very dry, so lots of potential for static around here. I'm just taking a look at yonder transport. Yeah, this looks like a beltless eject mechanism, so it's going to be a lube issue. We know all about lube issues, don't we? But before anything else, I want to fire up these tweezers. And I want to see if these capacitors are going south. And there's been at least one person that commented on my videos saying that they have these tweezers and they're not accurate, but fortunately mine are. I've tested them a few times with new capacitors. Alright, this one is 100 microfarads at 6 volts. Actually looks very easy to replace if I need to. Wait. It's measuring as a resistor? What? Okay, let's get this over to off of auto mode. Yeah, that's more like it. 80 microfarads, 5 ohms ESR. That's probably just fine for this. And this other capacitor is about the same. There's actually more underneath there where I can't really access them, but not really interested in getting into that right now. When this thing has problems, then maybe we'll deal with it. Wait, 250 microfarads? Seriously? That's the same capacitor. That can't be that far out of tolerance on that end of the scale. There has to be something else in circuit that's interfering with the tweezers on that one. So I'm just actually not going to worry about it. I'm going to say they're both good and we should just fix the problem at hand, which is the eject. So how does we do that on this thing? Okay, this is what controls the door. Opening and closing. That feels plenty loose. Oh, I can see a bunch of grease in there that's probably not very good. Yeah, that's not so good. So, how do we get this top plate off? Looks like we might have to take off the door assembly. So I'm going to show it to you guys here so you can see it, and so I can reference my footage again if I need to. Okay, we've got 2 screws down here. Man, it's inconvenient for me to be leaning over like that. Yeah, 2 screws down underneath there. 2 screws up here. I think that's it. Not sure. But maybe I don't have to actually remove that entirely. Maybe I can get this top panel off without doing too much up here. Let's find out. Grab my nice Vessel precision screwdrivers. We'll take these 2 out of here first. And this one back here. I don't know if that's the same or not. It looks the same. Let's see, what else do I got to do back here? There's one on the back panel. Right down here. Oh yeah, we can do this like that. Very easy. Starting to get a better look at the insides. Yes, definitely a gear-driven eject mechanism. But how do I get to it to lube anything? That's the question. There's definitely an area up here we would have to lube, and that's very dried up and sticky grease. So definitely needs lubing for sure. Trying to keep my hands away from the right head over here. I don't want to damage anything. Even though this was the cheaper of the 2 decks. Got a couple of switches that are probably going to want some cleaning. Okay, so I think the way to do this is to just start tearing into it. I can't figure out any other good way of accessing what I need to access with this thing other than to just take this entire side panel off, because I need to get in there to these gears to lubricate them. And I just don't see any better way of doing it other than to start really tearing this thing apart. So we're going to do that. Fun! And I think in order to do that, we really do have to take this door mechanism off. So gonna start doing that. And I'm going to try to do all this with the circuit board still attached. Don't know if it'll work. We'll see. Okay, door should be ready to come off now. And it is. Just comes off like so. Now we've got access to this arm and we can remove that. Take this one spring off. I hope this works when I'm done with it. Okay, we got to take this one off too, the spring. Hope y'all can see what I'm doing. But anyway, I don't really need this one to work after I'm done with it. It'd be nice if it did. You always want your repairs to go well, but sometimes that's not always possible. Okay, what's next? Well, we got to take this spring off down here. Easily done, and I'm going to entirely remove this one, otherwise it's going to fall off anyway. Put that one down where I can find it again, hopefully, and this should come off now, this sliding piece. There's a little tab down here to bend out of the way before it will. Okay, now this will come off. Just make sure it engages with everything once you put it back on is all I can advise you there. I took pictures before I started doing this, so I should be all right there. And yeah, look at this glue. It's not very good anymore. Has to be redone. Now, does this little thing come off? Yes, it does. So I'll put that off to the side. And let's see, are we able to get this side panel off now? It kind of looks that way. We're going to have to get rid of these rubber feet for shock absorption. And we got to dismount at least one of the screws for the circuit board. I don't know if that's the only one. Oh, nope. Actually, we got to do two of them. This one back here and the other one on this side. Okay, those are out. We got two more screws over here. Really not sure who made this transport for Onkyo. Could be they did it themselves. Could be something else entirely. And we've got one more screw to get rid of, and it's trying to pop loose already, but not ready to have it pop loose yet. Got to do this screw back here. Okay, now this should be able to come off now. And we've got parts that are trying to come off with it that should not be coming off with it. This little plate here is trying to come off with it. And it's entangled in the right head, so I'm just trying to figure out how to do this without damaging anything here. Okay, hopefully there's no damage being caused to that, so we can now lube everything in here. Okay, fine, fall off, whatever. I got pictures. I can hopefully put this back together after. So now we've got better access to the loading wheels under here. Question is, do I have to take any more apart in order to access those for cleaning? Good question. This one here, this gear right here, this big white one, is just clipped in. And I think the one in behind it is easily accessed otherwise. So how do I unclip this, this gear is my question. Can I get it out of there? Because the gear is holding in the other wheel. And this is one I want to lubricate. Okay, it is off. I just can't get it out yet. Or rather, it's loose. See if I can work it out of there. That's all. Probably can't because this entire top section is in the way. Oh no, there we go. It's fine. Now, let's see if we can get this other gear to come out now. Trying to make sure you guys can see this. Okay, yeah, that one just came out, no problems. The actual loading motor is back here. Let's see, right back in there. There's this worm gear, and then there's another worm gear, and the loading motor itself is that one right there. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe I shouldn't try not to take anything more apart than I already have. On the other hand, I took pictures. The problem is if I want to get access to that gear assembly is I have to completely take out this top section here. And I can't really see a good way to do that right now. There's a bunch of stuff here I don't really want to mess with if I don't have to. So, do I just leave it be and try to grease things in place, or do I try to actually remove this? Okay, so a decision has been made. I have decided we're just going to grease in place right now. I'm going to just kind of gamble on the fact that maybe not all the grease is completely dried up inside the worm gears in the loading motor here. I will grease everything else that I can get access to, but in order to actually get at those gears and the other stuff, you have to take this side panel off too. And if you're doing that, you might as well just unplug the connector for the pickup and risk damage and all that kind of other stuff. And I kind of wanted to not be as stressed out today, so we're just going to lube everything in place that we can. I think I can do it. I think it'll work, because the bulk of the bad grease was on the sliders on the outside. So that's the plan. Let me get my Molykote shooting syringe here, and we'll start doing this. Okay, so we're going to want to grease up this worm gear down in here. So I'm just going to run a bead of it through there. I can't actually get access to the side of the gear that's in there, so I'm not going to worry about that. I will grease up this gear just a little bit. And now it's time to get out the isopropyl alcohol, because I got to do some cleaning. So yeah, this is why I bought 2 of these Minidisc units. So I'd at least have one that worked afterwards, if nothing else. Okay, so that's clean. I'm going to try to get the spindles back here that those gears ride on. I'll use the syringe to put some grease on those as well. Let's get the sliders here. We'll start cleaning them. These will get fresh Molykote. We'll get this little one as well, might as well. They all got to be cleaned up. Try to put that out of the way so I can work on this. Let's see, can I get this sliding mechanism out? Yes, I can. Good. I want to clean all of this. But yeah, this is exactly where most of the bad grease is. It's right here. No wonder it wouldn't load or anything. Okay, that's fairly cleaned up now. Let's see, what else do I got to clean? The slidey gear has to be cleaned. This one. Okay, are we ready to start putting things back together and stuff? Do we remember how things go? Probably not. Probably have to take a look at my pictures again. Let's see, I spotted some grease I didn't clean up yet. Where was it? Ah, yes, there. I'll just reach over and grab my Molykote now, because we're going to have to start re-greasing in a second here. So yeah, the long slidey gear goes in here somewhere. Basically like so. I believe that's how that went. Let me just check my pictures real quick and I'll see. This is why you take pictures. Yeah, that is exactly how that goes. So I'm going to take it back off and start Molykoting. This right here is where that this gear over here goes. I don't know if you can even see it. This one I'm pointing to with a syringe goes right down into this area here. So I want to add some grease in there. I'm going to put some grease on the teeth of this slider as well, even though I've got some grease on the other side of the equation, because we are going metal to plastic there. Kind of hard for me to check my shot in this particular occasion. You'll have to excuse me if I get something or other off camera. It happens. I'm going to inject some grease down here. Apologies if you can't see it. I'm going to put some grease right here for that other gear. And hopefully those will be happy now. Now if I can just remember how to put all this stuff back in, that would be terrific. So this kind of worked its way loose and has to go back in. This goes underneath the right head, hopefully without causing any damage. Okay, so I figured it out. There's this little pin that engages a hole with this flip-up doohickey here. That's how that works. So I still need to figure out where that spring goes. I'm sure I will at some point here. It probably goes onto the this piece, which has to be reattached now. And there's something I want to lubricate here first before I do that. That's this little area here. This little pivot for this metal piece. So, question is, can I get this back in? It's a good question. Probably works if I do it the right way. That's a thing I could try, doing it the right way. It's not the way that's supposed to go in. That doesn't seem right. It's like a puzzle, really. I like doing puzzles. That's kind of why I'm doing this kind of thing on camera, on YouTube these days. Alright, let me figure this out and I'll put it back together off camera. Alright folks, I got this thing back together. I just have a few words of caution for you. This arm right here is going to drive you absolutely bonkers when you try to put this back together. Reason being, it has to go like that, like this. It has to go on this side of this little black piece. And if it doesn't, you will have kittens trying to get it back into that place. So I managed to do it. I needed really 3 hands to do it, but I managed. This side is in properly. This side is in properly. The whole thing seems to have gone back together properly. I can test load a disc and nothing's binding up. Well, except for the bent latch on the disc itself, but that's why it's a test disc. Anyhow, I'm ready to start putting the rest of this linkage back together. I'll probably do that off camera because I did show you on camera earlier how it went, but the other thing I wanted to show you is how this spring went for this assembly up top here. That's where it hooks into, so not too hard to figure out. It's just kind of a pain, but whatever. Anyhow, I'll lube this up off camera and then we'll hopefully put it back in and test. And hopefully it works after this, because I don't know if it will. Okay, I think I got this put back together the way it's supposed to go. I'm not entirely sure. I may check my footage yet, but I got everything back in, as far as I can tell, properly. So we're going to reassemble and test in a minute, but first I want to grab the syringe here and I want to lubricate the slidey slide rail down here. Just a little bit, it doesn't take much. Obviously I can't work my way into the underside of that rail, but should help. Really wasn't having any trouble there, so I'm not too worried about it, but I just don't know yet if this arm is in place properly, if it's supposed to be above or below this. So I'm going to check and figure that out for sure before putting her all back together. But yeah, I'm going to do that now and we'll see if it works. Place your bets now on whether or not it's going to work. Okay, so it is back together and we are about to find out if I screwed something up or if it's actually going to work. Hope you guys have your bets in, because no takesies backsies from here. Power is applied. Power is on. Finally. Took a little bit because I think all these button switches back here need to be dealt with, but I'm not going to do that right now. So let's see if we can get this thing to work. Yeah, it still works. See if we can select a track here. Yeah, it still plays. Let's see if it actually ejects. Ah, crud. It still doesn't want to eject. Why? Maybe I just need to work the mechanism a bit. At least I got it back together properly. We can at least say that. No, she still doesn't want to behave. Something really feels tight in there yet. I bet I have to completely disassemble this thing and get at that motor. That's the only thing I can think from here. Okay, folks, I've been looking at this, and I think it might be possible to get access to that loading system, the parts I didn't lubricate, from underneath. So there's a possibility I might be able to just lift this board off and swivel it out of the way in order to do this. But I gotta caution you, you've got the pickup wires over here, and we've got the erase head wires over there, so make sure you don't damage those. I may have to actually disconnect this, and if I do, you see these two solder pads here? You would want to bridge those in order to protect the laser. So, kind of debating whether or not I want to actually do that right now, actually. All right, let's see if we can bridge these. There we go, that should be done. And now we can safely disconnect this connector, which is connected. If you make sure you're connected, the writing's on the wall. But if your mind's neglected, stumble you might fall. I haven't listened to that album in a long time. Probably about time for a re-listen. And the other thing you got to watch for underneath here is that there are a bunch of switches and stuff. So be careful. Oh, and the other thing is, this is a ground up here, so make sure that screw is tight when you put things back together. Or is this even going to work? I bet this isn't even going to work, because this is not loose. Yeah, the problem here is these motors are bolted down from this top side here, so we do have to actually get this piece out in order to access any of that stuff. So, fun times are ahead for yours truly, because both of these side panels have to come off in order to do that, and you got to mess with the right head and all kinds of stuff. Do I really want to do this? I don't need this one to work. Alright, so I now have access to everything under here. I'm not too pleased about having to get it to this point, but whatever, it is what it is. I'm hoping I'm not causing damage to the right head by leaving it like that, but it should be okay, I think. I didn't let it go crashing down or anything, so we need to see if we can get access to this area under here where the shaft is, because that's going to be where the problem is. One screw there. One screw here. This is not a magnetized screwdriver, so they're not coming out right now. And there's one screw here. So let me see if I can grab the screws. 1, 2, and 3. And the part of the sled for the pickup, or the laser sled, just rides in a channel down here, so I'm gonna want to lubricate that too, I'm thinking. But can I actually get this out? I don't even know. Let's slide the sled over. Something's being held up here. I don't know what. There is a spring that is interfering right now. It's this one down right here, I think. There's a little pin it goes on top of. It's off the pin right now, but you can kind of see it there, maybe right yonder. So keep that in mind. Now the question is, why won't this come out now? Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's a bunch of old grease in here as well. And these two pins, be careful with them. These press down on some switches. So we're going to have to reinstall those afterwards. And yes, very much old grease down under here. So hopefully this fixes it. I will clean all this up and we'll just try and see. This really isn't too much more disassembled than we had it before, honestly, but yeah, that's what happens when you get lazy. Sometimes it catches you out. And I'm going to need my other swabs in order to get back in there to that other little pivot point. Okay, I got a couple of these little swabs for cosmetics. These should get access to the greasy part under here. It's just right in here. Really hard to get to. Really, really hard to get to, as it would turn out. You really need some small swabs to get to that. But I have gotten to that, and I have cleaned. And we're going to have to clean the grease here, and we're going to have to clean the grease off there. So we've officially got a problem with this thing. I got all the grease cleaned up as best I could, but this gear, this worm gear that goes on the motor, is cracked. Surprise, surprise, surprise. So I'm going to have to glue this onto the shaft somehow. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that, but that's basically why this thing is not ejecting properly, I think, is this gear is just split. Can't drive the mechanism anymore, so let me figure out a plan for this and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I decided to go with super glue. I don't know if that's the right call or not, but it feels like it's the right call. I can no longer get this thing off the shaft, so it must be working. And the other thing I did was I decided to go ahead and drop some oil down in there to both lube the motor and also keep the super glue from gluing the motor together. So probably a good thing I did that. And I also lubed up the spindle motor as well. So good to do while we're in here. But yeah, it's about time for me to reassemble this. So I'm going to do that entirely off camera. I will lube under this as well, because I might as well. I've already done this this shaft up here. Okay, so a little more drama to tell you about. That gear did glue its way down to the pulley, so I had to work it loose and clean it up and try again. But it's fine now, I think. I got a washer I gotta put back in somewhere. Not exactly sure where it went, but I'll figure it out. It'll come off either one side or the other of this long black gear, so I'm not even sure I need to reinstall it, so I guess I'll put that washer back. Okay, did we get this thing working now? We're about to find out. Power applied. Power on. And let's load up. It's a little noisy now, but as long as it ejects, I don't care. Here we go, let's try it. Look at that. We got her working. I don't like the sounds it's making, really, but it's doing the job. Let's try again. And we know it's going to play because it read the table of contents. Just to be sure, I'll hit play on the remote here, and yeah, it's clearly working. Going between tracks and it's still working. Eject. Yeah, we fixed it. Okay, so I guess this MD unit is not done with me. I got inside it this morning, day 2, as it were, and I went ahead and replaced every single one of the button switches up in here, because, like I said, they were flaky. Got those all working, took the rotary encoder apart and cleaned it, too, and now it's back to not ejecting again. Great! So, what I had to do was I had to get this apart in such a way that I could test it to make sure that the clutch was actually working and that my glue was holding, and my glue is holding, so there's something going on yet with the lube in this side of the deck, so I'm going to have to take this all back apart again and figure out what's going on. Okay, so I think I might have figured this out. I believe it's this sliding piece here. And I think the problem is actually the moly coat, EM30L. There's a little bit of a lot of drag going through here. And I'm thinking about maybe either A, cleaning the moly coat entirely off and leaving it dry, or B, using this stuff. Now, I can't remember what was on there to begin with. I think it was some kind of grease, but it was, I don't know. I don't think this is the right grease to use here. So I'm going to clean this up and see if I can figure out what to do here. Okay, so I think it was just I used too much moly coat. It's moving extremely well now. Ridiculously well, in fact. So I'm just going to leave it just like this. I'm going to put it back together. Maybe wipe some of the moly coat off these pieces up here as well. And then hopefully it's all better now. We'll see. Okay, so this didn't entirely work. It's still moving quite freely here, but when I put the mechanism back together, it binds up real bad. So I think what the problem is, I need some lube on this side of this gear. So I'm going to try a very light coating of moly coat. I'll just put a dab on and smear it around with my fingers, and we'll see if that works. If not, the way forward after that would be the graphite stuff. So wish me luck. We'll try again. Well, folks, I've been poking and prodding around with this thing, and I think the remaining issue in here is that it's just because the clutch is still engaged in this. Like, that's why it's still so tight. Otherwise, this thing ejects a lot better, I think. I'm not entirely sure yet. We'll have to put it back together to find out, but the arm we just took a bunch of moly coat off of is moving better now once it gets to the end of the eject cycle, and that's where it was having the most problems. So, crossing my fingers that it's fixed now. I just got to put the rest of the arms and stuff back in. Always fun on this mechanism, but what are you going to do? Okay, did we get her fixed or not? Let's find out. Applying power. We have standby. I will grab a mini disc here and we'll see what happens. It's reading the disc. Read the disc fine. Let's eject. Still not. I'm about fed up with this. I don't know about you guys, but it's irritating me now. It is moving easier. So yeah, I'm going to have to go in with the graphite. That's all I can think from here. Let me try that and we'll see. Okay, folks, I think I'm getting closer to a solution here. Basically, the graphite grease didn't do anything for it, really. So I've been trying to spot moly coat here and there where I can find possible issues, and it occurred to me that maybe I should leave this spring here disconnected just to see what happened, and watch this. If I can get it to do the thing. That is now the third time in a row it has properly ejected without that spring connected. So here's what I'm thinking. It's just having trouble raising and lowering raising the disc after you hit eject. So I'm going to have to figure out exactly what's going on there. I did find a little area right here that needed some grease, and this needed some grease under here. But there's probably more yet I have to track down. So I'm going to do that, and we'll keep trying. It's important to try to figure out exactly where a mechanism like this is binding up when it does things like this, and just sort of puzzle your way through it. You'll figure it out eventually. Like, I'll figure it out eventually, but I'm going to keep going. Well, folks, I can't find the problem. That means the problem must be the clutch that's down inside this gear assembly here. I think it's gotten just a little too weak to do the job, even though it kind of feels all right. It just doesn't seem to be able to manage the eject mechanism properly anymore. So since this does seem to work without this spring, I'm going to try to find a weaker spring to put in here, and hopefully that'll fix it. Because I am not getting inside this thing anymore to deal with this clutch again. So let me see if I can find a spring, and maybe we'll get her working. I did find an issue, potential issue under here. This little tab goes all the way down to about here, and it kind of wants to bind up against the this black metal plate, but that wasn't enough to get it to or rather, fixing that wasn't enough to get it to work properly anymore. So, yeah, the only thing I can think to do is just find a weaker spring here and just let it be the way it is. There is no other reason I can find for the tray to be binding up like that. I tried leveraging under it on this end with a Q-tip and on this end. Didn't work. Tried pushing up here while it was ejecting. That didn't work. Tried bending... let's see if you can see it here. I tried bending this little tab right there, right yonder. Didn't work. Lubed under it. Didn't work. What can I say? It's either the clutch or that spring is just too tight. Or both, or something like that. But I'm thinking it's the clutch. So let me go see what I can find for a spring, then we'll get back to you. Okay, so I couldn't find any half-decent springs I could swap into this that were looser, so what I did was I just mangled the heck out of the one that was in there. Stretched it out on the bottom and on the top, and I think it's going to work now. Maybe. Watch it make a liar out of me. I knew it was going to do that. Let me tweak it some more. Well, let me try ejecting again. Okay, so it's working part of the time now. I just need a little bit less spring tension, and then I've got it. Okay, I think I finally have it now. Watch me be wrong again. It's just ejected 4 times in a row properly. And that'll be number 5. So I'm going to put this back together and pretend I fixed it. Just wanted to show you these little button switches I have here before I forget about it. I got 2-pins and 4-pin varieties. These are the 2-pin. They're different colors, so I can easily tell them apart. You can get these for dirt cheap off eBay from China. So, yeah, I got a batch of 200 of those. And I've got about the same amount here on the 4-pin models, so it's basically what you can do if you need some of these is just get them off eBay from China. That's all I did, and every single one that I installed in that deck actually works, so no problems with the quality of these, at least so far. Of course, they're brand new, so who knows. Okay, so it is back together. I don't have the screws in yet because I'm half convinced it's going to make me get back in there again, but we'll just do a test here and see what works. It's loading easier now, too. I gotta say that for it. Okay, it is officially fixed as far as I'm concerned. So I guess the moral of the story is 1, don't overgrease. 2, don't overlook the major stuff because you're concentrating and fixating on the small stuff. Like I thought it was for sure all those little sliders in there, but no, it was the spring pressure and the felt clutch in there. And the third thing you should keep in mind is never go in against a Sicilian with death is on the line. I don't know. I can't think of a third one. Anyhow, that's going to be it for today, guys. See you in the next video. Take care.